Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Generational Curse Words. I'm Mustafaa Madian, and here we are at happily at episode 8. Um, how's it going
Yeah.
with you, Olivia? How's everything?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm coming off of the tail end of thankfully like a 24-hour spell of food poisoning.
Mm,
And it's so crazy because all the signs were there to change my order option. I got dressed up. I went out with friends. I was so happy to be outside. I'd been with the kids all day, every day for forever. So I was really excited to get outside. And I got there, and as everyone was ordering, they were like, I think I'm going to order the salad. And mind you, even before then, I knew for a fact, like, I was like, I think I'm going to get the pork shank. I'm going to get the pork shank.
mm,
And so, me just being outside the box, you know, what is your favorite order? I just asked the waitress, and she was like, well, I personally like the rattlesnake pasta. I always get weird about how things are named, right? So when she said the rattlesnake pasta, I was like,
mm-hmm,
And she was like, and with
mm-hmm,
instead of shrimp, I get instead of the chicken, I get salmon and it's pristine. And I was like, well, can
mm-hmm,
you just put your order in the way that, like, could you put my order in the same way you would put your order in?
mm-hmm,
Mustafa, that food did not agree with me at
mm-hmm,
all. Like, at all. It is like my body knew even throughout the night. Like, it just, like, I was so bloated. The food
mm-hmm,
just sat on my stomach. Like, it
mm-hmm.
refused, my body refused to even move it, refused to even digest it. And
Uh-huh.
the next morning, as soon as I got up, body
Yep.
got rid of it, right? My
Yeah.
body got rid
Yeah.
of it. And for I mean, even still now, I'm not feeling the best. With food
Mm-hmm.
poisoning, it's like you have to tread lightly. So even
Yeah.
if you feel better, once
Yeah.
you decide to eat them chicken and mashed potatoes, you'll feel just as
Mhm.
bad as you did before. So
Mhm.
I'm in that weird
Mhm.
like I'm a little lightheaded because I'm not eating as much as I should, but it's just like, do I want a headache from not eating, or do I want to be sick from eating
Right.
too much? So
Right.
I've
Right.
been treading lightly, but
Is there
luckily it was
anything you can
24
drink? Is
hours.
there anything you can drink to kind of flush?
I've just been drinking ginger ale. I don't even know if there's any
Okay.
ginger in ginger ale, but it
Right.
just works. I don't know why. It just works.
Probably
So,
because of the carbonated, the effervescence in it.
mm,
More
yeah,
than
and it's not a
likely.
whole bunch of like sugar in it
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been drinking
Mhm.
ginger ale. I started drinking Gatorade recently.
Mhm.
I was eating
That's good.
saltines
Mhm.
and soup. I felt like
Mhm.
it reminded me so much of my great grandmother eating saltines and soup. It's just certain things that stick to our older people from the Great Depression. They just
Yep.
never let
Yep.
it go. They never
Yep.
let, she was eating saltines and soup like we were still financially strapped for cash.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so I ate
Yep.
that and thought about her today.
Yeah. Saltines and soup. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm doing well. I'm getting really grounded over at Department of Juvenile Services in Maryland. Getting into different systems such as research and evaluation and other departments, and of course, the mission is to um, have work people do their work and look through their work, look at their work through a youth development, positive youth
Mhm.
development lens. So what we're doing as far as research and evaluation is saying, okay, how do we look at and evaluate the work that we're doing from a youth development perspective? Are we looking to make sure that there are opportunities for young people, that it's youth focused, that and what are the indicators that we're looking for? Are we in terms of outcomes that we want for young people? Are we now measuring the good stuff that happens, the good stuff that they do, their levels of
Mhm.
participation, as opposed to how well they're in compliance with rules and regulations? So the work is moving, and it's really interesting, watching people kind of struggle as they begin to shift their
Mhm.
paradigms on how they think about young people, how they look at young people. even planning events. Like we're going to be doing a March Madness between the different facilities. They're going to be competing basketball wise and everything in them. It's looking as the adults plan all the activities, and they say, well, should we let the girls participate? Well, I don't think they're going to want to participate. And I'm like, why don't we just ask them? You
Yeah.
know, and it's like this the
Or
last
leave
thing
it
that everybody,
open.
right. It's like the last thing they all think about is, asking young
Mhm.
people what they want to do. Of course, in this system, the number one thing that's taken away from them is their independence. So the last thing you think of is, asking them what they might want to do or
Mhm.
how they might want to participate or how something should even be done. So it's a slow road, but I think we're getting there. Um, Other than that, we all know what's going on as far as in the world is concerned, right? Um, how did you fare through the snow we just had this past week or so?
First of all, it was a shock to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, and maybe this is just proof that I don't want to call it anxiety because
Hmm.
I feel like it's something that's overly diagnosed, but
Hmm.
sometimes I can have a sense of urgency or I need
Hmm.
things to be super predictable for me to
Hmm.
feel comfortable. And so I used to be one of those people that was check the weather religiously. I think it
Hmm.
was like Weather on the Eights on the Weather Channel
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it was always at
WTOP, yeah.
yeah, so
Weather on the eights and when it breaks.
I never missed it as a kid.
Yeah.
I had
Uh-huh.
no job, nowhere to go as a kid. I never missed it. If an 8 was coming up, I was
Right.
watching the weather. I don't care if I seen the forecast 3 times that day. And so
Yeah.
I've always been a person that checked weather religiously, and I would say, like, it felt good to be surprised by snow for the
Mm,
first time in a long time. And
mm,
part of it was that I've just been running around with these children,
yeah.
haven't really had the time to catch my breath or whatever, but it felt so cool to be surprised by snow and just to
Yeah.
react to things in real time. Even as I was washing dishes and looking out the window, I was like, that's a snow sky. Instead of looking at the snow and knowing that snow is coming, or waking up in the morning, snow is reflective. So waking up in the
Mhm.
morning, haven't even opened the blinds yet. And I'm like, oh, the sun is real bright today, and then I open it up and see snow. So it felt good, almost childlike to be
Yeah.
surprised by the
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to look at the weather every day because of my hour-long drive into
Hmm.
Baltimore. If I drive in, so I've really got to pay attention. So it gave me a couple of snow days at home, which was really good. My schedule's kind
Yeah.
of flexible anyway, but and it wasn't too bad because even waiting it out, waiting the first day until everything settled, to do my shoveling, shovel out and
Hmm.
put down the ice or whatever. But
Ooh.
as snows go, it to me it really wasn't bad. I mean, again, it's the most snow we've had in like 2 years. But it's just interesting to see a little bit of winter come back, and then of
Yeah.
course in a few days we'll be right back up into the
I know
60s
it's
again.
gonna
So yeah,
rain everything away, wash all
yeah,
the snow away. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I'm still waiting for my plates. So I'm
yeah.
still riding a little dirty. So part of me was just like, because Arthur went out to shovel, like to get all the snow off of our cars.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, could you put a little snow like in the pocket, like in the in the where the license plate is in the
Right,
back of
right.
the car. He was like, Olivia, like, no, I'm not doing that illegal stuff. But
uh,
and it was my first time driving in the snow
mm-hmm.
too. Really, yeah, it was my
Okay,
first time
okay,
driving in the snow.
okay.
Um, but the roads were pretty good.
Do you have
The
all-wheel drive?
I don't know.
You don't know?
This is so crazy. I have
uh,
not looked girl math. Like, I have not looked at that
uh-huh.
manual. I don't know. And my
Really?
sister was telling me about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. But I mean,
I'm guessing that you probably do.
I'm thinking so.
It's more likely that you do than you don't.
Hmm.
Once car manufacturers got smart and said, what's the point of four-wheel drive? What's the point of two-wheel when you can make cars with all-wheel drive? And it just makes
Hmm.
more sense that all the wheels are hitting the road and all the wheels are moving the car forward instead of just the front two wheels or the back two
Hmm.
wheels. And that's the difference. and the
Yeah.
chances are greater of skidding when only two wheels are actually moving the car. The chances are you do, but you, like you said, the roads were really really good, especially the parkways and the highways. Um, even though there were accidents, but the roads themselves were good. And I went at a time where it just wasn't too many crazy
Mhm.
people. You find that window
Yeah.
where everybody's not in a hurry.
I had to
So.
go into, yeah, I had to go into my organization. We got a new president and CEO. So
Mm,
we had an all staff meeting, and I was thinking that maybe we weren't going to go in. I'm
mm,
Southern minded, okay? We got off
mm,
school even when they thought it was going to snow. It was a 2 hour, we had a 2 hour delay when the snow turned into rain.
mm,
Like, so I'm like, I was telling my supervisor who's from Chicago, I was like, well, maybe they won't make us, come in
mm.
because of the roads. And she was like, Olivia, like, I don't, we're gonna have to come in. So at
Yeah,
first I was really nervous, but it was fine.
yeah,
The roads were good. The roads were good.
yeah,
I just don't like driving in the snow at night. It
yeah.
makes me feel a little uncomfortable. And in the snow, people start driving as if no one on the road knows what they're doing except for them, and they just create
Right.
more liabilities.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm not
yeah,
complaining about the snow.
yeah,
It was a pleasant surprise. I'll be happy when
yeah,
it's gone, though. I'll be happy when it's gone. I think this has been
yeah.
enough. And we took pictures for his first snow, so it
Uh,
was fun.
uh,
It was
how did
fun.
he react to the snow?
Um, just touching it with his little
Uh-huh.
hands.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was trying to I was trying to leave enough room for discovery, but
Mm-hmm.
also to prevent him getting like sick or little colds or
Right, right,
whatever.
right.
But I brought snow inside in a little bowl for him to play with as well. Um, but we went out
Uh,
we didn't do anything big. We
mm,
pretended like we were out there doing stuff in the snow. We went out on our balcony with the snow,
mm-hmm,
with the baby, set up a little tripod, took some pictures, and went about our day because we were like, we just
mm-hmm.
want to capture this moment. It's his very first snow.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure for him, he just thought he was cold.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Like he probably didn't know how is it, when you're discovering something or doing something. I mean, when we discover stuff as we get older, it's discovery because we're always comparing it to something else.
Mm.
Like when Columbus discovered America, which is a new place, he's comparing it to something else, so therefore it's a discovery. But I guess for young people, they're just taking the world as it comes, and everything
Mm.
is exploration, is exploring more than anything else. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
like you
I
said,
agree.
capture those moments. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But our word for this week:
Is
individualism.
individualism.
Yeah,
It almost
individualism.
sounds strange to be thinking of that word in the same
Hmm.
context as Black culture, Black community, because it's just everything that we're not, like
Yeah,
at the core. But
yeah, yeah,
it's something
yeah,
that still curses our community. It's a choice that many of us still make,
yeah,
to the detriment of the whole.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because um I'm thinking about what was it recently? There was a clip that I saw with oh, what's her name? It's escaping me now. A black comedian who kind of got blacklisted from Netflix, and she was calling on everyone to support her.
Is this
And
Monique?
yes, yes,
Okay.
Monique. It was a clip with Monique and Steve Harvey. He was interviewing her, and she was kind of calling him on the carpet for not supporting her or having her back when she was going through her challenges. And um, there was something she said to him about, you playing the game, and she said something about us sticking together and something about integrity.
Mm.
And he said he can't let his integrity sacrifice um, his situation because there are other people who are depending on him, like his family and etc. And he basically just came right out and said it. Why he's not going to do for others, or why he's not, because you know uh, uh, um, his position and what he has to do, and and it made me think about where we are as a people. I guess too much we've been kind of forced into a position of where we just think about ourselves. Um, we grow up just thinking about ourselves. I think
Mhm.
oftentimes I'm thinking about when we first go to school as kids, and uh, something happens, and we tell our parents, well, Robbie did this, or so and so did this, or they're doing this, or whatever, and our parents are saying, don't worry about anybody else. Just worry about yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking how early we get the whole idea or concept of not thinking about other people and just thinking about
Mhm.
ourselves, and putting ourselves first, and um,
Yeah.
you know even as communities, speaking about generations, how there used to be a time where we would think about other people. I think about our neighbors, think about our neighbors' kids, think about just community, always thinking about people. And now it's to the
Mhm.
point really where you mind your business, you stick to yourself, you're only concerned about yourself, you only shovel your car off,
Yeah.
the snow. But yeah, what makes this a curse? What makes this a curse amongst us as a people?
I mean, and we're probably gonna answer this together in real time because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know the answer to that question right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that whenever people make the case for any decision that's individualistic, whether it be in career, or friend groups, or growing up in the neighborhood that they're growing up in, it's always, even when you're talking about the Steve Harvey clip, it's always rooted in survival. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
rooted in, these elements depend on me to make sure that I'm good so that they're not sacrificed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it just has me thinking about when we were working together back in the day, we would always run into these mind boggling instances where people that look like us were doing things that just did not make sense. And I just remember saying one day, it's a sane reaction to an insane reality. And
Yeah.
so when you're reacting to insanity, you'll always be able to make the case because it's rooted in
Yeah.
survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that has something to do with the curse because
Yeah.
we live in a society, in a reality that literally it qualifies survival. Like you have to almost apply and be approved to survive or to just live successfully or
Yeah. 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 You do.
yeah.
You do. You do. You do. And I think about that. That's something I think about every single day. That once you come into this matrix or this culture, every moment is really about how do I position or continue to position myself so that I can eat,
Mhm.
so that I can eat, and so that I can live, um,
Mhm.
getting an education, working a job, having a hustle. Everything is about, you know, is rooted in that decision, you know, to make sure I get my next meal.
Mhm.
And I think if that's at the core of how we've now been wired, it's really kind of difficult to even think beyond that. I think the interesting thing is our young people, like where they are in terms of mindset before they get to that point. Because of course, we don't in this society they don't really get to participate in the survival uh, process the way adults do. You know, early on, their survival is rooted how they socialize with each other and how they interact with each other to a great extent, except those who are forced by
Mhm.
circumstances or situations to be about survival. Um, but at the moment, they get to see, or at least they get to have a sense of commitment to each other, to their homies or by girl, or
Yeah.
that sense of that what do they call it, that ride or die kind of mentality until
Mhm.
but now even they are to the point where um, it's me or them, or it's us or them, and it's moment to moment. um, yeah, I'm just thinking about, like in the job site, as you mentioned earlier, how we treat each other, and how it's like there is no code anymore amongst us as a people. I
Yeah.
think you said it the other day, you said people aren't blacking anymore like they used to. you know and
Yeah.
we aren't. It's like you can't even. There used to be a time where you could have certain expectations of each other. um I remember the last job where we worked at, the dean of the college was asking why we don't have any white kids in the summer program.
Mhm.
And I was saying, well, because most of the white kids that are in the city now, of course, came out part of gentrification, and they don't get summer youth employment jobs. That's not
Yeah.
what. So he was talking about why we don't recruit, white kids to be in our summer programs. Well, they're usually going away to camp, or going to Martha's Vineyard or whatever,
Yeah.
and and it was just interesting how he was. I don't know what he was trying to the point he was trying to make, but this insistence that we or the implication that we, I guess, were being discriminatory or whatever because we only
Or
had
that
black
you
kids in
weren't
our.
doing enough to
Right,
bring
right,
in kids
right.
that don't need slash want or relate to this. And
Yeah, right, right. So,
the real question is, why are you so pressed to make Black
yeah,
students employees and human
yeah,
capital? Why is this a, like, why is this a summer youth employment program? Like, why isn't this a Southern youth entrepreneurship program,
yeah,
or a
yeah,
traveling program,
yeah.
or even you can't even do a mentorship program because there's not enough
Exactly. Yeah,
adults that would sign on
yeah,
to work with young people because of individualism.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Um
yeah,
yeah, like why don't the kids in SYEP travel?
yeah, yeah. Why don't they? Why? And it's almost like, do we think they don't want to travel? It's like, again, as we begin to make decisions, and this
Mhm.
works right into individualism, as we begin to make decisions for young people based on our experiences or lack of experiences, or what we think is interesting or uninteresting, or what we think they need, again, based on our experiences. And I think individualism is a curse word in that sense, because
Mhm.
we tend to want to do, for the next generation or for the generation, what we think is best for them, given what
Yeah.
our experiences. Never thinking about, number one, their ability to chart their own path and have their own decisions,
Yeah.
um, but also, without respect to even asking them, what it is that they want, what it is that they think about, what it is they care about, um, what it is that they want, from us. Um, but yeah, that
Mhm.
and then I'm thinking about families, and how families tend to be grow further and further apart as you get older, as you get out into the world, and
Mhm.
you know, uh, and even how we begin to treat each other, or and maybe that has something to do with, again, as we get older, as uh, young people get older, and parents begin to kind of distance themselves with this understanding, this belief that young people don't want to be hugged anymore, don't want to be nurtured anymore,
Mhm.
because they're getting older now. This expectation that they want to separate from us, and they don't want that same kind of attention or affection that they had when they were very,
Mhm.
very young. Um, and even the notion that we should force them, toughen up, you don't need the kind of attention that you had. You're not a kid anymore. So, and
Mhm.
I think that plays a lot into, I think we kind of create
Yeah.
this individualism.
And because even now, and even when we first decided to discuss this word, I viewed it from the lens of what it does to other people. Like the
Mm-hmm.
effect that individualistic slash selfish people have on others. But
Mm-hmm.
especially for our blackity black selves, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not in our nature. Like it's not anything that God put in us when we were created. And so
Right.
it's one of those things that if you are a selfish person, the more you give into it, the more it literally kind of eats you alive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so um, even when you think about parents, like you just said, that, um, I need my child to survive, so I'm going to stop with the hugs and the kisses and all that and so on and so forth. That decision weighs heavier on the parent than it ever will on the child. The child
Mm.
may be upset, bitter, whatever, whatever, but you will have to live knowing that you're the one that started this dynamic. Like you're the one that
Right.
initiated
Right.
this. And so
Yeah.
I think with individualism, it's one of those things that, I think at times you should know when to find the balance, but
Yeah.
if you always give in to selfishness, it will literally eat you alive and separate you, like you said, from all of
Yeah.
the things that actually make you happy, with whether it's your family, your passions, your romantic
Mm.
partners, your children, your employees. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
selfish people just kind of separate themselves and build a wall around themselves and just kind of slowly
Yeah.
condemn themselves to a prison of their own mind, but also one that's
Yeah.
physical as well.
Because it's really outside of our nature.
Mhm.
I mean, it's really it's counterintuitive. It's unnatural for us, and therefore it's not anything that we will ever really be successful at. And, I mean, when you think about it, um, when those of us become individually successful,
Mhm.
and we've even created these ways of thinking that justify our separating from the community. Well, if you're not part of my struggle, you're not part of my success, or well, you can't bring everybody with you, and all of these
Mhm.
kind of memes and things that we create to justify us moving away and becoming seeking that individual success without respect to everyone else. And then what happens is, like you say, you really do, because you're doing that and you're comparing that success to what you're leaving behind.
Mhm.
And you are, in fact, leaving it behind because the joy in success is actually being able to share it with other people.
Absolutely.
And so if you leave everyone behind that would otherwise share in that and get to enjoy that, then you will never ever fully realize even your purpose and your point for all
Mhm.
of this that you were striving for anyway. And
Mhm.
like I said, we will never be successful at doing um, what the prominent culture does, because that's not in our nature.
Mhm.
So we'll never succeed at that. And even when we think we've succeeded at that, like you said, we'll never be happy.
Mhm.
We'll never, because that happiness was in the ability to share that success with other
Mhm.
folks. And we, end up. Like I always tell parents when we're doing the parent training, I say we have to be careful because we're creating the kind of child that we're going to look for in the future to take care of us. And if
Mhm.
we separate ourselves, from them and allow them to separate themselves from us, then they won't have that compassion that we'll be looking for, that we'll be hoping for when our time comes and we need
Yeah.
someone to take care of us, and we wonder why that love and that affection is not there. Well,
Mhm.
you kind of traded that in very, very early, and you did your job so well that when that time comes and you're looking for someone to take care of you, they're quick to put you in a home.
Yeah.
So um,
Yeah.
it kind of
And the
backfires.
and the crazy thing is, because even when you look at selfish people, the me, what about me? What about what I want? I'm gonna go after what I want.
Mhm.
Whether they achieve it or not, one thing that they always become as bitter.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like you were selfish and you chose yourself and you failed and you're bitter, okay? You were selfish,
Yeah.
you chose yourself, you succeeded and you're bitter, okay? Like, as much as we love ourselves, or maybe we don't, I don't know. But
Yeah.
life isn't great alone. Like, I
It
don't care
isn't.
what anyone says. Life isn't great alone. I don't want to just be the only person on my mind. Like, do
Yeah.
you know how sucky that would be if I
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
only person on my mind, if my well-being was the only one that I was, that
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
concerned with. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to just be amplified in my world 24/7.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because even though we have our own individual and soul perspectives of life, I mean, we obviously did not come here to be alone. I mean,
Mhm.
we came into a space where there were other beings. We came into a space where there were other souls and other spirits, um, who we are connected to on another level. But we came here
Mhm.
to have this experience with others. So, to even think, and and again, that's, I guess, people on their own terms have to figure out this whole I'm being my authentic self, or they have
Mhm.
to figure out what that means. But they have to understand what that means in the
Mhm.
perspective of the other beings that we're put here to share this experience with, and that we're put here to kind of relate to.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Um, I was a child. I know I was a child, but I could still read, and there was this movie on with and it was when I was a child. Most of the movies were with white actors or whatever, but it was about this woman who this man was doting over for the whole movie. He was trying to get the girl, and um, at the end she became successful. She had her house and everything, and she didn't need him. And so he's finally wised up, and he's at the door, and he's leaving, and he's saying goodbye to her. And now she's totally successful, but she's alone. And
Mhm.
as she turns toward the fireplace on the mantle, there's a sign that goes across just before the credits. It says, "Those who think only of themselves usually end up by themselves."
Mhm.
And I remember that. I mean, and it's one of those things that has stuck with me. And I wasn't even a teenager yet, and I remember reading that. Those who think only of themselves usually end up by themselves.
Yeah.
And there she stands tearfully at the fireplace all by herself in her mansion, you know,
Mhm.
as the love of her life
Why are
walks off
films
into the
always trying to
sunset.
humble us women as if that's the woman? That's typically the man's story in real life, but okay.
Uh,
But
of course, the other one was what, Gone
Mhm.
with the Wind.
Mhm.
Same thing. Same kind of theme, and it's true. It's
Yeah.
true.
And
It's true.
I mean, and I'm glad that you mentioned us all being spiritually connected, because in that sense, selfishness and individualism simply cannot
Mm-mm.
exist. Like, they
I can't.
simply cannot exist if we're all connected.
Yeah.
If we're all connected. So for instance, even if we take your movie and we make a sequel, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything is transferable. Like, everything is transferable. All the work that you put into this relationship, even if it didn't equate to anything in this setting, it will in the next. And I
Absolutely.
see it all the time. Good girl, bad boy, tried to make it work, had a
Mm-hmm.
baby, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
marry her, wouldn't do right. She finally got fed up after, I don't know, 10, 15, however many years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm out, peace, I'm not doing this no more. And then within like a year or two, she found the perfect match for her.
Right.
Now she's
Right.
married and all of that. And where is he? The old bitter.
Right. Right.
He missing out on Auntie Chrissy's fried chicken. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's one thing about individualism, because in his mind, he's just hoarding effort, hoarding
Yeah.
everything that he can get from this, and it's all about
Yeah.
me. What can I have? A beautiful woman, I have the great family, what else? I'm gonna take, 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 and never ever invest. And I'm gonna put in my mind that I'm a bank that's growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger,
Right.
But with a
Right.
bank, I mean, with a bank, all you have to do to make it, all you have to do to make it unsuccessful is take all the money out.
That's all you got to do.
If she was
That's
the
all you got to do.
money, if she was the
Right.
money, it don't matter if you the bank. If she the money,
Absolutely.
so she'll
Absolutely.
take her money elsewhere, and it happens all the
Absolutely.
time. And that's
And
one
what's
thing. Like it's transferable because we're all
yeah,
connected. So she just
yeah,
transferred it over to that other man, and now here they are living
right.
a life that you had for free
Yep.
temporarily.
Yep. And the thing with guys, the thing with us is that like late in later years, okay, the woman, comparatively gets to
Mm,
be successful, gets to be happy, and we as men get to be bitter, and we don't in the sense that we have regrets,
mm,
and our manness will not let us admit it. Our manness will not even let us salvage um, some redemption for ourselves in it. I'm just thinking about a situation I just heard about today with a friend.
mm,
They got divorced. She has a kid, and the guy, he's calling her, who do you have over at the house, who you talking to, who
mm.
he's now trying to manage this situation now, now that he's away,
On
and
the
she's
outside looking
right,
in.
and she's, what should I do, should I, and we're saying, look, go ahead and live your best life, move on, but he keeps bothering me, he's going to bother you anyway. He's in a space where he now cannot be happy, but he
Mm,
made a decision.
yeah.
He did something out of which out of which he made a decision, out of which he moved on, and he left, um, and now he's in a situation where, of course, it even affects his relationship with his child. But
Mm,
again, he we often as men can't man excuse me, man up, quote unquote, to the extent that we say, you know what, let me at least redeem a friendship, a
mm,
relationship, an understanding, a level of, I guess we kind of get stuck and we can't even
yeah.
mature. She gets to mature, she gets to grow because, again, as you say, she has all of the currency in the relationship, that she gets to learn from and move on and make better
Mm,
decisions. And he's kind of stuck. And I think, I don't know how much of that has to do with um, our legacy as Black men in this culture, um, our inability to form sound relationships because coming out of captivity and having been used in captivity with so many different relationships, I mean, I
mm,
don't know. I think I'd have to ponder that for another curse word at another
mm,
time. Um, but I just think I think you kind of coined that really well in terms of what happens in relationships between men and women, um, and really where understanding really where the currency lies.
mm.
Uh, I think you said it earlier. A man's primary purpose, is to, uh,
Oh.
yeah,
We
how
need to
did you
start
phrase it?
recording our phone conversation
Yeah, yeah,
because we be saying a lot. And I even said it
yeah,
on the phone. I was like, we should have just got on Riverside and just talked at this point.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, but and again, this goes back to the individualism because I know a lot of men, and I would consider them friends. I really would, but
Hmm.
I know a lot of men who are, my age, and they have, you know, they have the house, the
Hmm.
traveling, the passport
Hmm.
stamps, the suit collection, J's, nice car, all of that. They can do anything that they want. They have
Hmm.
the career. Um and they're happy,
Hmm.
put that in air quotes for all intents and purposes, but um they their story their breakup stories are all the same, whether they've dated 3 women or
Uh,
10 women, right?
uh,
And
mm,
so, and I don't know. I think I'm a good friend because I won't let you live in
Hmm.
delusion. So,
Right.
to say that you have all these things, and it's just like, okay, like I see that look in your eye.
Right.
You not
Uh-huh.
okay.
Uh-huh.
You are
Uh-huh.
not okay. We speak the same language. You and I both
Right.
know that sole purpose in life is to procreate is to procreate with a wonderful, loving woman and ensure that that family is secure, whether he is
Hmm.
living or not. Like
Right.
that is the sole purpose, to the point that
Yeah.
men will be at peace knowing, like it's almost like, even my uncles, they didn't care, like not that they didn't care, but they didn't fear death because they know
Right.
they did right by the people who are their responsibility, aka their
Right.
wives and their children.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, the nice materialistic things, like what I said, everyone has a this, but nobody
Right.
is a that. Like
Right. Right.
the nice materialistic things are one thing, and same thing with women. Our sole purpose in life is to just be nurturing and be in a secure, comfortable environment. That's why we don't thrive in toxic relationships. We don't thrive with all
Yeah.
that weird mind tricks and stuff like that. Are you secure? Are you good, like,
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
core, so that we can weather the storm and we could both, I just want to be
Yeah.
secure and
It's
safe.
funny. I remember one time, um, what was it? I think, I can't remember. I remember someone asking this this younger woman. She was an older man, and they were saying, well, only reason she's marrying him is for security. That's the only reason she's marrying him. And then someone said to them, and
Mhm.
as if to say, there's something wrong with her marrying a man
Yeah.
because she wants to be secure, because she wants security, she wants to be sound. Um, and at one point, that was like, I guess, there was a benchmark for
Mhm.
us, security, to make
Yeah.
sure with someone the relationship is sound and secure. And it's somewhere it just flipped at, well, but do you like them? Are you with somebody that you like?
Mhm.
It's more about who you love. It's more about loving them more than anything else. It doesn't matter,
That's
but I love him. But I
that
don't care if he's doing it. But I love him. If
mhm.
loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right.
And this is back to the individualism piece,
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
these are
Mm-hmm.
two, now when we talk about vibes and chemistry and connection, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about two fixed,
Mm-hmm.
I am who I am people coming together
Right.
and fitting perfectly. It's
Right.
literally all it is. You're the dance and he's the song, and he's the same old tune and you're the same old dance,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
You're right.
That's not necessarily how it's supposed to work. Like, you have to
Right.
be careful about your patterns, because one day you're going to enter into a phase where those patterns aren't going to fit anymore.
Right.
So
Anymore. Right.
this
Yeah.
person matches your dance, you know?
Right.
But what if your dance changes?
Changes.
I don't know.
And more than likely, it will.
I
That's the nature
promise
of
you it
things.
will.
Yeah, it will. Yeah,
I
it
promise you
will.
it will.
And we
So,
never account for that.
mhm,
That's something we never account for. And I think at some point we might have taught that, Olivia, as a people. I think at some point, there might have been some wisdom that came down that to teach people, to teach us, how to really judge, a person,
mhm,
how to kind of make decisions, um, about who we want as a partner in life,
mhm,
to the extent that we could look at a person and say, can I wake up, to this person every morning?
mhm,
Can I make the decision? Can this person grow? Can I
mhm,
grow? You know, but nowadays people don't even think about that. They think about
mhm,
who's in front of them. Is it fun? Is it stimulating? And it never occurs that this person is not going to be this way. They're not going to look this way. They're not going. This isn't going to
mhm,
be what you wake up to every morning for the rest of your life.
mhm.
And and you got to look deeper and see if there's some uh, longer lasting characteristics, and if there's some ability to grow.
Mm.
But even beyond that, is there some ability to maintain a lifelong friendship regardless?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you have to care enough about the person. I really do believe that you have to care enough about the person that you want them to be happy, even like you said, even if you're not here,
Mm.
even if you pass away, even if you move away, no matter what happens, that has to be at the root of our love or our connection for another person, and that's not individualism.
Mm.
See, it's really it's the opposite of that. Is it's caring about someone else outside of yourself. I guess the satisfaction, the personal satisfaction in that is just to be able to care about someone
Mm.
beyond yourself. And I think that's a I think if you have never experienced that, or if a person has never experienced that, then you're missing out on a true source of gratitude. And what I mean is, I am happy. It's gratifying to be able to care about someone's happiness, even if they're not with me.
Mhm.
To care about someone's happiness solely because you want them to be happy, irrespective of whether you're happy or not. And to be able to feel that is it's just a different kind of feeling,
Mhm.
um, than individualism, because you can only experience your individualism.
Yeah.
You can experience that. But when you can experience someone else's happiness, and you can see that, and you can draw joy from that, it gives you a sense of gratitude, a connection with gratitude that's unlike any other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gift. I think I got that. That's one of the things I got from my mom. I think
Mhm.
that's a gift, to be able to really, really care about whether someone else is happy.
Yeah.
um and she did that. She always cared about, she was just that loving kind of person, always cared about someone else's happiness. um and again, it's not to your detriment, but it's just to be able to have that ability. And I think we
Mhm.
as a people, I think that's one of the things, I think one of the things that I most, if I had to say, um and this is a strong word, let me just put it this way, that I dislike about the experience of captivity more than anything, more than just the physical captivity, is what happened to us in
Mhm.
terms of our emotion, our character, our spirit, and what happened to us as a people, that those godlike um, qualities and attributes that were stripped away from us over time.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's the greater crime.
Mhm.
I think that's the greater offense out of everything, more than just the captivity itself, because there are people that have been held in bondage and everything, but once that was over, they were able to kind of recapture and redeem their souls. To take a people to the extent that they are just disconnected from their souls. And as you were talking earlier, I was just thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if there is a hell? That hell would be, you spend the rest of eternity alone. I mean, I, I
Yeah.
can't, I can't think
I
of,
couldn't even
you know,
imagine.
like, because people right now, when people even think about hell, they talk about hell, and I'm thinking about the mythological or hell that
Mhm.
we've learned to understand, fire and everything. There are other people there. There are
Mhm.
lots of other people there. So at least there's other folks there suffering with you. There are other
They make it
people.
look like a nightclub in the movie.
But imagine if hell is eternity
Mhm.
all by yourself.
I
You know,
know. And I
not
even
connected to anything.
Lord, it feels weird that I'm even about to say this because I'm a scaredy cat. Um, for someone who's so southern and heard so many things, I have a scaredy cat when it comes to stuff like this.
Mhm.
Um, but even when the elders talk about
Mm,
earthbound spirits and
mhm,
people like that, like individualism individualism is their
Mhm.
hell. Like people
Mhm.
that are stuck in certain rooms in the home, people that are
Mhm.
constantly trying to speak to you, and they, you know,
Mhm.
they see your whole day, they hear everything you say, but they can't reach out, they can't connect, they can't
Mhm. Mhm.
communicate. Like, um, yeah, like even when I think of that, even when I think of old homes back in Farmville, North Carolina, people would say, you know, there's a haint. That's what a haint. You know, there's a haint in
Uh-huh.
there, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's speculations of who it is and all this, and they feel sad and this, that, and the third. I'm getting
Mhm.
goosebumps just thinking about it because I'm in my house alone right now. But
Uh-huh.
um, I think that is a version of hell. Like
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I don't. I have a mission here on this earth right now.
Mhm.
I try to do as good as I can by myself and by others, so that I don't ever have
Mhm.
to worry about the alternate options. Should I
Uh-huh.
move on to the other side? But um, whenever I think about earthbound spirits, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
People that are
Yeah.
just stuck in the same place where they couldn't make things right for an
Yeah.
eternity.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, generations come and go. This person's been
Yep.
stuck here since your
Yep.
grandmother was a child, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what that's what I think
That's
of.
interesting. That's interesting. I was that's interesting. Um who was it? I think Joel Osteen this past Sunday, his conversation was about uh, your cheering squad.
Mhm.
And basically, what he was talking about is he was talking about ancestors and people who moved on who are still cheering for you to be successful
Mhm.
because there is a benefit to them for you to be successful because they've poured into you. And even though they're gone, you have an obligation and a mission, and they've equipped you with certain things to kind of be successful. So
Mhm.
that kind of contributes to their well being. And again, thinking about who we are as a people and where we've come from and our connection and recognition and with ancestors, and how even now in individualism we have kind of disconnected from that, the
Mhm.
idea that our ancestors are still looking at us, they're still looking over us,
Yeah.
they're still watching over us, and they're still there. And if we remember and respect that,
Mhm.
then our likelihood of success is greater
Mhm.
because we have, the support of forces and energies beyond this life.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah.
choice of individualism also disconnects us from that.
Yeah,
And we
it
often
does.
wonder why we're so unhappy. Why am I so alone? Lord, why have you forsaken me? And, it's because, we have chosen a path to be by ourselves and to be
Mhm.
for ourselves. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it is a generational
It
curse.
really is. And
Yeah.
I would dare say, because we've talked about it, right? And
Mhm.
we've just defined it in a way that goes beyond selfishness, right? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just choosing yourself, like even just like only worried about your earthly realm is
Yeah.
individualistic too.
Yeah.
And I think especially for our curse words, right? Like
Mhm.
for individualism as a curse word in our community, it it really just slowly moves you further and further and further away from you.
Yep.
Like not
Yep.
and you know,
Yep.
yes, the obvious example is the selfish entrepreneur who, you know, just got successful and shitted on everyone. Cool. But even the fact that um we're supposed to be connected to our ancestors, connected to people that are the other side that have either already been here or have not yet come,
To
right?
come. Yeah. Yeah.
And and even looking back, even like in my family, there would be it was always young people who could hear and see certain things, and the first thing we would
Mhm.
do, take them to church, pray it away, pray it away,
Yep.
pray it. When did we get so afraid of being
Yeah,
connected? Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's not like these beings are it's not a horror film,
Right,
like it's not like
right,
these beings are slapping your 2-year-old at 2 a.m. Most of the times they just
right,
having conversations.
right.
So like
Most of the time, yeah, they're
and
just
most
showing
of
up.
and honestly, in my experience, the parents have been more afraid than the kids that actually
And then the kids,
experienced it.
right,
And
right,
so I'm
right.
just like, yeah, like why are we so afraid to be us? Like I
Yeah,
understand certain things, because I'm African. I don't eat in
right,
dreams. Don't have sex in dreams. There's
right,
just certain things you don't do in dreams, right?
right,
But like
right.
if you have a spiritual experience that is that was intentional and that was for you, why are we gonna
Right,
pray it away when you're two,
right.
when that is a gift that can inform
Mhm,
your life
mhm.
forever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like when
yeah,
did we become so afraid? And that's the thing, we associate connectedness, whether it be in relationships, friendships, even you and me, Mustafa, when we work
yeah.
together, I was like,
Right.
they acting funny. Nope,
Yep.
we not doing a scope of work with them. We just gonna see if
Right.
they. So we, it's like we equate fear to togetherness,
Yeah,
connectedness,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
community. Like,
yeah,
when did we become afraid to connect? Even when I look at
yeah,
romantic relationships across, that's my field of study, Black
yeah,
masculinity. Even
yeah,
when I look at relationships, it's when did we afraid of love?
yeah,
Afraid of something as pure and beautiful and cleansing and healing as love?
yeah,
And it's just like,
yeah,
fuck it, I'm gonna do me.
yep, yep,
When
yep,
really you should be afraid of one night stands.
yeah,
You should be you should be afraid of side chicks and
yeah,
side hoes. You should
yes,
be afraid of
yes,
side dudes,
yeah,
okay?
yes,
I
yes.
I will never forget. It was this one clip on social media, and this guy, I know it's from a show, and I know someone's gonna call it out, but he was invited to a classroom to talk to kids.
Mhm,
And he was supposed to be there talking about addiction,
mhm,
like drug addiction and why you shouldn't do it.
mhm,
I'm the example, whatever, whatever. And he was like,
uh,
kids, I'm going to tell you the addiction that cost me the most, more than anything else in my life. And he wrote hose straight across the chalk. But I'm just saying, like, we are we are fearful of the beautiful, safe things. Love is safety. Come on, like
right,
love, connectedness, family, marriage, unity, investment, empire building, like that's safety. And the fact
right,
that we like a whole generation of us is more comfortable with casual relationships, more comfortable with breakups versus having a conversation, more
mhm,
comfortable with trying to build this business alone rather than assembling a dream team,
right,
just when did we, like
yeah.
why is it that the dangerous things are safe to us?
I think we've been traumatized.
I know we have.
We've been
What do we say? A
traumatized.
sane reaction to an
Yeah, to
insane
insane. Yeah,
reality.
yep,
I
absolutely.
know.
Yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
And we do this
Yeah,
all the time. We talk it up, we have this
yeah.
long monologue, and then trauma.
Yeah, and we go right. Yeah, we go right to it. Yeah, that's go right to it.
But where do we go
Um,
from there? Because the only way to cure individualism um is to have a communal approach
yeah,
to life.
and and you know, again, it's always going to come back to um our young people and
Hmm.
what we have to model for them. And even if we can't model it for them, we have to be able to at least support them in it. And we
Hmm.
have to be able to support them in that sense of community, in that sense of working together, in that sense of supporting, you know, their love, their care for each other,
Mhm.
um, their need to be with each other and work together, and their ideas and their reality of being able to create a world outside of this,
Yeah.
um,
And they have.
and
They really
be a
have.
support to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they really have. It's
They
just
have
that right
created
now
a
the way it
world
looks.
outside of this, yeah.
Mhm,
And
mhm, mhm,
we have
mhm.
to, as adults, we have to know how to support and or join that world without
Yeah, yeah,
infiltrating it,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
then we come in as
yeah.
a threat, as someone who's
Exactly,
trying to conquer,
exactly.
and this is a place that they've
And
created.
right, and all they'll do is just, I tell people over the agency, I said, this is how you can tell. Here's a good gauge for measuring, evaluating your relationship with your child, especially if you have a teenager. I say, if
Mhm,
they're home by themselves and you walk into the door and they get up from the living room and leave and go up to their room, I say, that tells you something. I said, so um, that's what young people do. If we
mhm,
don't approach it right, if our relationship isn't right, if we don't facilitate an environment that they can be themselves, they will simply
mhm.
leave the room.
Yeah,
And and if we come into their room, it has to be on their terms. you know Otherwise, we'll be uninvited, disinvited. It's just like the barbecue.
mhm,
If we don't come correct, as young people say, then eventually, they will separate themselves from us. And if we continue to enforce compliance on them, then we will traumatize them, and then they will ultimately then become us.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's the way. Um, I think that's the way back for us. I think we
mhm,
have to look, and we have to be honest about these conversations about, like, when I started off, we talking about Monique and Steve Harvey. At least the thing about Steve Harvey, he admitted it. He at least admitted, I can't sacrifice, my survival, for my integrity. I mean, he at least called out what he's about. He said it. Um, it is a game, and I'm playing the game, and right now, I'm being, at least in his measurement, successful in the game. I think
mhm.
Monique is mad because she couldn't play the game, or the game didn't work for her, and she's upset at everyone else. Even in her call for people to come and support her, what she's asking people to support her in is not there for us to have.
Mhm.
She wanted, all of these people to support her in her fight, for her individual,
Yeah.
success in the game. And the really, it's not about that. It's about us getting out of the game and
Mhm.
supporting ourselves outside of the game in who
Yeah.
we are, and not worrying about being inside the game. So, admitting that, and in our own way, with our young people. And I think, if anything, I think who we have to apologize to, it is young people. I
Yeah.
think I think a way back for us really is a way back for young people. We've got to do some healing and some apologizing, and I think this is really crucial right now, especially Olivia, when we look at what's happening, with young people clear across the country, in terms of how they're being looked at. And, they're talking about crime, carjacking, and everything. But, whenever they have conversations like this about young people, they don't separate, young people who aren't doing all of this.
Yeah.
It's like it's all young people. So I think there has to be um, some repentance on our part, and understanding that all young people aren't uh, aren't straying, and even those who are straying, they're only straying because they've been pushed away into those
Mhm.
situations. And we have to make you have to make a commitment to them that we're going to be in it to save and to heal all of them. And the way we're going to do that is by facilitating, what their real needs are,
Mhm.
putting them first, and letting them make some decisions and some choices, and some ideas, and
Yeah.
leading the way, and creating this other world. And if we have to keep one foot in this one while we're supporting them in that one, we can do that. We should do that. I think we should make a commitment. One of the things that we're trying to do with this young man in our life is we're trying to get him through college and into adulthood. The first goal is debt free,
Mhm.
so that there's no connection or obligation to society in that way for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
We're trying to get him to a point where he has, property, real estate
Mhm.
that he quote unquote owns, to the extent that he can own it, even though you can't own a house in America. But to the extent, our goal is to get him as disconnected and out of bond, unbonded,
Yeah.
let's put it that way, unbonded to whatever extent we can, so that he has the opportunity to kind of experience and feel and create outside of a commitment or a need for survival, quote
Mhm.
unquote, so that he can begin to kind of experience and see life on the terms of what life can present itself. Um, so I think if we can think about that for young people, if we can think about, that's why I think, being able to grow your own food, being connected to nature, being able to, eat well, and not on the American diet. I mean, just being able to think outside, understanding what's happening politically, that it doesn't make a difference who you vote for. It really doesn't. And
Mhm.
it really doesn't. And this machine has to run itself out. Um, I venture to say, and people be upset, um, if Trump wins or whoever wins, if a Nazi wins, it doesn't matter, because whatever this monstrous system is, it has to run its course. It has to do what it's going to do. And us fighting and trying to delay hell from operating as hell is just going to bring more hell. I think we have to build something different, and
Mhm.
work for something different, and let this thing do whatever it's going to do. Um,
And all that
and I,
I heard from everything that you were talking about is just trust. Like
hmm
you have to trust. Learn you only reap the benefit of trusting by trusting. And
yeah,
so, yeah, like because
yeah,
even when I think of individualistic people, they have a huge air of distrust about them. No
yep,
one else knows what
yep,
they're doing. And we do the
yep.
same thing to our young people. We do not trust them
Trust
to
them.
do the
Yep,
things that they're going to do anyway. Like for instance,
yeah,
we're trying to put young people on quote unquote the right path so that they can sustain this country, this system, this society, whatever. And while we're gearing them up to do said things, they've already done it. Like for instance,
yeah,
they've already created their own little world by
yep,
themselves. They've already created their own governance systems. They've already
hmm
created their own rules and consequences if you
hmm
break those
hmm
rules. So
own
um
currency, everything. Yep.
exactly. So I just trust and I
Hmm
yeah. And also
yeah,
individualistic people carry a lot of baggage with themselves. And so, even when you talk about the young person in your life of trying to get them into adulthood debt free, people deserve to reinvent themselves and to go into new phases of their life
mhm,
free of shackles, free
yes,
of strings, free of all of that. Because either way, residual energy will always stay. Energy
yeah,
transfers,
yeah,
but
yeah,
having things that literally pull you back in time, like even when I think my credit, I'm
yeah,
like, I got this credit card when I was 21. I am now 30. I don't even know that hoe no more. I don't know who spent that money
yeah.
on them Louboutins. I'm trying to go to the next phase of my life. I'm trying to live,
Yep,
okay?
yep,
So,
yeah.
even when we talk about student loan forgiveness, I think we should have debt
Mhm.
forgiveness. Like,
Yes, yes, yes. What was it I was saying at the beginning of COVID? I was saying we need a worldwide
You
reset.
did say that, yeah.
Yep, reset. If we really want to save the world, and see, and they won't even do that to their own salvation.
Mhm,
But if they did, if they reset, and people saying, well, people aren't going to, the 1% won't lose a penny. They will
mhm,
never suffer. They will never need or want for anything. If they never made another penny right now for generations, they would still be okay.
yeah,
So it's not even really about that. It's really about keeping the yoke on the rest of mankind. But if you just reset,
mhm,
then everybody would be free, and they gonna still spend, they still gonna
mhm,
do what they're gonna do. You don't have to worry about the economy. Your system would reset itself if you would just reset.
yeah,
But that's the thing about, again, about individualism. It's like
mhm.
bite your nose off to spite your face.
And it's eating them alive.
It
It's eating them
is, it
alive.
is.
They went from people who just wanted to be rich and not have a care in the world. Now they worried about NATO and
Yep,
nuclear bombs and are we going to go
yep,
to war? Are we not going to go to war? The
yep,
LGBTQIA agenda. Did I say something
yep.
wrong? Like
Right. Yep,
everything that like you just wanted some money, baby.
yep. That's
And by
all.
you not letting loose of this grip, all in the sake of individualism, it is
Yeah,
eating you
yep,
alive. Like it is
yep,
eating you alive. Just let it
yep.
go. Again, the the way that we undo this curse is communalism. Like
That's it.
honestly,
That's
and
it.
even in the black community, even if they ain't hip yet,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we all really just banded together for real, and I don't mean just
Hmm.
African Americans, I mean Africans, Afro Brazilians, Afro Mexicans,
Yep,
African
yep,
Americans, Caribbean,
yep.
black people everywhere understand they have a global black identity.
I did.
Again,
Hmm.
we're the money and they are the bank. And all you gotta do to make a bank like broke is move the money.
Smooth the money. It's move the money, and many people, many folks, African nations have figured that out. People have figured it out. I
Mm,
did the math. Maybe last week. I asked Alexa or whatever. I asked her how many African Americans are in America, how many are in Brazil, how many in the rest of the world, how
mhm,
many are in Africa, and I did the thing about demographics and the land. Do you know we could literally all go right back to Africa?
mm. Oh.
We really could. Every single one of us could go right back to Africa. We
Mhm,
could uplift the continent, like people worried about. Yes, there's streets and buildings and running water and technology and everything. We could actually go back to Africa and uplift our people.
mhm.
We really could. We really could. And those who didn't want to go back, that's fine. But we really could. We could go
Yeah.
home. We could say, up yours to the rest of the world, and we could go home.
And do you
Yeah.
know, even when I think about different African countries and how oppressed they are, th they're only oppressed because mentally, in terms of mentality, everyone's hip to the same, status quo of colonialism, imperialism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dump a
Yeah.
whole bunch of niggas that ain't hip to that. Dump a whole bunch
Yeah.
of niggas that don't have not nan bit of that mentality in them and just populate the
Yep.
continent. What would
Yep.
happen?
Yep.
Because
Yep. Yep.
what would happen?
Yep.
You done had
Yep.
the same president for 40 years. I can't relate.
Come on.
And neither can 30,000 of these niggas that's here right now and the 40,000 that's on the way. We can't relate.
Right.
Who set this man up in this house? Who made
Yep.
that decision?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
just saying.
That's
I
why
just be putting ideas out there.
I'm just saying, hey, hey, come on. Come on. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. We really
Hmm.
could. It's funny how, it's really funny, Olivia, how we've adopted this whole idea when we say things about solutions and people say, it's more complicated than that. It's more complicated than that. It really isn't. It really isn't. See, that's the biggest lie. The biggest
Mhm.
lie is that it's complicated. Now, things can be complex,
Yeah.
meaning that there are lots of moving parts to it, but it doesn't have to be complicated, you know. And solutions can really be simple. And most solutions really are simple. I mean, if you got a very intricately woven basket, you know, all you have to do to take apart the whole basket is just to unravel one little piece, one
Mhm.
little corner, and that will unravel the whole thing. I don't care how complex or how complicated you think it is, but it's always going to start with a very, very simple, simple
Mhm.
solution. Like you said, if we just, hey, just take your money out of the bank. It's not that simple. Oh yeah, it's that simple.
Mhm.
Ask during the depression. Ask what happened. People took their money out of the bank. It was a run on the bank. People just removed all the cash. It's
Mhm.
really that simple. Like when people say, okay, when Christmas time comes this year, we're going to protest. We're not going to spend any money. Oh, no, it's more complicated. And no, it's not. It really
It's
isn't. That's
not.
what I mean. COVID showed us when we didn't spend money. What did they do? They gave everybody money to spend. They gave
Mhm.
everybody money to spend because people didn't have money and people weren't going to spend. So why do you think they give people money? Because they cared about poor people?
Not at all. They gave you something that's not real, baby.
Right, right, right. But to keep the illusion alive,
It's kinda like
that's the
you
biggest thing. To keep it going. So, oh, they're gonna figure this
Exactly.
out. It's gonna figure this out. We got to keep this illusion alive. We got to give them some money,
They gave
so they
you
think it's
something that's
real.
very valuable to you and is
Yep,
invaluable to them,
to
okay?
them. Yep,
It's not real
yep.
in their world. What do you say?
Right. It's
One man's
not.
trash is another man's treasure?
It's- There it is.
That's the
There
stimulus
it
check
is.
you got, sweetie.
There it is. There it is. And now they're gonna find a way to make you pay for that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, so I guess what are our personal revelations? What are lights?
Mhm.
And what do we want to journal about and invite people to journal about? I think yeah, for me really I don't know. I don't think there's much questioning I have to do in terms of myself as an individual. I thrive on community, the sense of
Mhm.
community and being with others and I mean and being connected to I kind of thrive on that. And I would invite folks to just kind of think about, um, who do you care about? And to the extent that no matter what, you want them to be happy, even beyond your ability to see them, your ability to be there. What do you imagine for others, and what do you imagine for us as a people?
Mhm.
That ideal community. What does it look like when everybody's happy and everybody has what does that community look like? What are people doing? How are they interacting? Um, it's almost like looking at many parts of our community now, and if it were the opposite, what would it look like? What would it look like if kids could really just kind of go outside, um, and play outside and be with each other and and people could share and and people could exchange and give and relate to each other. And I mean, what would that
Mhm.
really look like when people didn't have to worry and be afraid of of uh of our connection to ancestors and the hereafter and the before here, just to kind of pour ourselves into what connectedness really looks like, if we could imagine that, and to just extend it. What would our young people look like if they were happy, if they were really connected,
Mhm.
if they were all friends and they cared about each other and they shared and they weren't competing with each other. What would that look like? I think that's kind of
Yeah.
a place maybe for folks to start. Uh, I know at DJS, really, that's the work. Because right now in the facilities, of course, the number one thing is because they're all traumatized, they fight, conflict, fighting
Mhm.
all the time. And someone even interviewed them and asked them, "Why do you all fight?" And they said, "Because we don't have anything else to do." The number one answer was they were bored. They have
Mhm.
nothing else to do. Um, but what would it look like if they were at peace with themselves enough that they could, like you say, trust?
Mhm.
I think that's one place where we can start. What would it look like if we just trusted young people? What do we what do we think they would do if we just trusted them?
We don't wanna ask that.
What could they what could they do? What all of the stuff that we try to prevent them from doing, what do we
Mhm.
want them to do? What would we
Yeah.
like them to do besides be us? And it can't be anything that looks like us because we don't even like us. Right?
Mhm.
We don't even like us. Um,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
thank you for joining us for episode 8 of Generational Curse Words, and we will see you next week.
Okay. Take care, folks.